Hey, let's talk about your favorite movie. Welcome back to day 14 of the Marvel Movie Marathon, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of the most underappreciated films in the franchise, Ant-Man. Before this movie came out, Ant-Man was a pretty lame character, didn't get a lot of respect, so the idea of an Ant-Man movie was kind of far-fetched. It was like, really? An Ant-Man movie? Who the hell would want to see that? Well, that was before Edgar Wright came on board, and from what I know, he's been working on this movie for 8 years. And if you don't know who Edgar Wright is, he's the director of Shaun of the Dead, Scott Pilgrim, and Baby Driver. He's fantastic at what he does. So once he came on board, people were really excited about this film. But right before they started shooting, he stepped away due to creative differences, and a lot of people were worried. A lot of people thought this was going to be Marvel's first bomb or first flop. But come on, you can never underestimate how successful Marvel Studios is. They got a new director ASAP, and they made a pretty fun film. When Hank Pym's shrinking formula is threatened to be replicated by an evil guy in a business suit, it's up to Scott Lang to infiltrate Pym Technologies and steal the suit before he creates an army of tiny soldiers to take over the world. This movie is a pretty fun romp. It's more of a comedy like Guardians of the Galaxy, and it has probably the most likable guy in the MCU to date, Scott Lang. And of course, he's played by Paul Rudd, who's overall likable guy in real life. So it's no surprise that the character of Scott Lang is pretty adorable. He has a daughter that he's trying to see, and that's all he wants to do. He just wants to see his daughter and protect the world so she can grow up all safe and sound. And that's all the motivation he needs to become this hero. And what's interesting about this movie, if you have a mentor dynamic, Hank Pym was the original Ant-Man, and he used to do missions for S.H.I.E.L.D. It was a smart move on the filmmaker's part to use Scott Lang instead of Hank Pym, because Hank Pym in the comics is a bit of an asshole, and even in the cartoon, he was pretty much a dick, especially to his wife Janet. So I'm thankful for that change, that we just skip over the original Ant-Man and go to the legacy character, because their dynamic, it reminded me of Batman Beyond, where you have Bruce Wayne telling Terry McGinnis what to do while being Batman. And that's what makes this film unique. You also got one of the best side characters in the MCU, Luis. He's probably my favorite non-superpowered person because he's just so funny and relatable. I think we all have a friend like Luis who just rambles and talks a lot. And I love him. I would love to see him like suit up someday. It probably won't happen, but I would love to see like a show about Luis and all his crazy stories. The best Marvel films have things you've never seen before. Like I never thought I would see a fight in a briefcase, or someone using ants as a raft to go through a drain pipe to infiltrate like a super secret lab. That's what makes Ant-Man unique from the other heroes. His perspective, when he shrinks, they do a good job of making you feel tiny and vulnerable. And it leads to a lot of great scenes, like when he goes to that weird rave in his apartment building that goes on like 24/7 apparently. That's fun. Or where he's training with the ants in the tunnels. 1 minute he's like, oh, they're so cute, and then they just like overtake him. They do a good job of making you feel small, and you're like, ugh, I don't want those bugs all over me. Ugh, gross. My favorite scene in the movie is when he fights the Falcon at the Avengers facility, and I think that's one of the reasons why Edgar Wright left the project. He wanted it to be a standalone film. He didn't want it to be connected to the MCU, which, by this point it's well established. Crossovers happen very often, so if he wasn't noticing that, then, it's on him. And even though I wish he stayed with the project, it's his loss, because this movie it was a success, and it was still well made, and it's a great time, and not a lot of people talk about it. But yeah, the Falcon fight is the highlight. It's great to see him again, especially since he didn't get any action in Age of Ultron. So that's a fun scene to see these heroes interacting with each other. Also in the movie, you have Hank Pym's daughter, Hope Van Dyne, whose whole character is basically, let me wear the suit. I want to wear the suit. I should be in the suit. Her character, I hate to say it, it's kind of like nails on a chalkboard. She just has one beat, and that's to be angry with her father. There's a lot of daddy issues in the MCU, if you haven't noticed. But they do have a nice scene where Hank Pym tells her the truth about what happened to her mom. She was the original Wasp, and she went subatomic to disarm this nuclear bomb. And that was a great scene. You know, the one scene where she shows another emotion besides anger for her father. I would have loved to see more scenes. I would have loved to see scenes of Hank Pym, doing his thing back as the original Ant-Man. I would love to see a movie just about him going undercover and doing all these missions and spy stuff. The score is really good in this movie. Gives you really like spy feel, old school, and so it makes this another thing that makes this movie unique. It's a heist movie. It's not about beating up the bad guy, even though he does. They have a great fight, like I said, in the briefcase and then in the little girl's room. But it's about just stealing this technology and making sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. The stakes are very small, pun intended. And it's also just really cool to see what he can do with the ants. No other hero has like animals they can control or anything like that. Then you got the evil white guy in a suit. He does a good job being an evil white guy in a suit. All those scenes in the lab where he's just trying to shrink something, I could do without. It's obviously the lamest part of this film, but the yellow jacket costume is really cool, and seeing him use it is the highlight of his character. Other than that, he's just an evil white guy in a suit. I wish I could say the same about Ant-Man's costume. The reason I don't think he's as popular as the other heroes in the MCU is not because of his abilities. His abilities are fine. I think he just has an ugly costume, man. Like, it's just very unappealing. They say it looks like a motorcycle jacket in the film, and it does. It's just a little red in the middle. His helmet's pretty ugly too. I think he just needs an updated design, to be honest, to be more appealing. Speaking of suits, Hope gets her next time baby moment at the end of the film when her father shows her a prototype for a brand new Wasp suit. So that's exciting. Her father, played by Michael Douglas, does a really great job in the role. I would love to see a prequel movie starring his Ant-Man, but I do like Scott Lang more. I love his relationship with his daughter. I had divorced parents, so I know what it's like to be a father just trying to do the right thing for your kid, and how your mother will push back against them. It's very relatable to me, and it's a change of pace from the other heroes, because besides Hawkeye, nobody is a parent in the MCU, so it's a really fresh take for him, and it really grounds him compared to the other guys in the franchise. At the end of the film, you see Falcon looking for Ant-Man. What does he need him for? Well, we'll find out tomorrow when all hell breaks loose between the Avengers and Captain America Civil War. Thank you for watching.